Thank you so much for the kind introduction, and thanks again for having me here. So I'll start by sharing my journey. In fact, I started tinkering with ideas while I was still in school and college, and it's been a long, mad journey. And for a school kid or for somebody who is going to college, it's the best time to start up. I mean, we have never been so lucky to have a support system where young minds are encouraged to try new things and to disrupt and to improve existing ecosystem and facilities. A lot of times we don't need to invent really new things, possibly in a hackathon or when you get such a platform. I mean, one must not try to, take a rocket to Mars. There are so many existing problems in the society, in the country, all around us. And if we try to think of it from a user perspective, if you try to like find a solution to it, possibly you will have many ideas, many projects to work on. Many of them would go on to become investable as well. And who knows? I mean, it could scale and it could become the next big thing. So while you're looking at ideas and it's sort of tough to find which is the best idea to work on, look at the biggest problems around you. And possibly, in the biggest problems, biggest opportunities exist. So whether it is in vaccination or distribution, or if you go to government and public healthcare centers, you might not like the experience you have, and all these are problems in diagnostics, in delivery, in possibly digitization of healthcare, in the customer experience, or whatever. You think is you don't like, or possibly it's missing. If instead of a critic's view, if you look at it from a solutionering point of view, you will find the biggest gaps, and you will be able to work on something which would not only help the existing infrastructure and ecosystem, but you can create a great venture. And almost all great ventures start like this, and with a very small idea, and yes, they keep building upon it. Obviously, you're lucky to have such a great panel of advisors and mentors to help you with. And I would just want to share something. So a couple of things I was working on while not in school, but for sure in college. And uh, I'm sure there are other people here who will take you through the journey and tell you more about design thinking and human-centered design innovation. And so there's this problem that was long existing, that was about MRI rooms. How many of you, I'm not sure if, how many of you ever been to a doctor for some sort of a surgery? Or maybe your mom, or maybe your dad, or maybe your grandmom or granddad. How many of you, any one of your family members, if they ever had surgery? Yeah. Nilesh says recently. And any one of you, have you been to an MRI room? Do you know what it looks like? Yeah, stones. Yeah, so for sure they must have. And the biggest problem with MRI rooms was that, obviously there were big machines there and they used to make a lot of noise. And when you take young kids there, they used to panic. And when you're taking an MRI image, the patient has to be very calm and still. But if you take a young boy, young girl there, they become restless. The problem with that is that the right image will not be taken, and then it might not result in the best diagnosis of the problem. So what young mind did, and possibly then later on the bigger corporations, Dell and like others, started working on it. If I can be allowed to share my screen for a minute, I can show you what kind of solution. So this was a beautiful idea, and some kids designed it, and obviously then it was done at a scalable way. And then most of the MRI rooms now globally look like this, so that even if you take a small boy or girl there, they are more I mean, distracted about the surroundings and the imagery there, and they're not so frightened and afraid of the doctor or the technician there. They're calm. They let them take the image, which is resulting in better diagnostics. So they're not essentially inventing a new machine here, but because of their wonderful thought process, one big problem has been solved. So similarly, I had the opportunity of working with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on a vaccination project, and a lot of people still, there are a lot of diseases for which vaccines and medicines are available for free. That is tuberculosis, obviously polio, and like a lot many other diseases which should have been long abolished. Now, theoretically, the medicines and vaccines are available for free, so we should not be having a problem. But then why are people not taking it? Yeah. So distribution and acceptability of that was also a problem. We started working on it, and I'll let you what it came down to the uniform of people who were distributing it, and we were able to make a high-tech carry backpack for them, so that once you open it, it looks like a fancy high-tech thing. And then people who were receiving it felt like something really important is being given to them. So that increased the acceptability from 70% to more than 90%. So a lot of times in healthcare, it's much more about accessibility and not just about affordability. And yeah, in the view of the pandemic, a lot of gaps have been exposed. And I guess many of you would be now aware about bigger problems in our healthcare infrastructure and the way we all receive healthcare services. And I'm sure when you look at it from your innovative minds and from a deeper perspective, each of these gaps possibly is ripe for innovative thinking and disruption, and you could possibly think of a way how it can be solved. And I'm sure your ideas will result into something very useful. Keep building on it. Obviously, it's a hackathon, so some of you will be declared winners. But apart from that, if you think if you need any support, if you need access to labs, if you need any prototyping help, thank you so much for having me. I manage the DS Center of Entrepreneurship here, and anything that we can do to facilitate your innovations, more than happy to contribute. If you have any specific questions, feel free to ask. And I guess Mr. Siddharth he will definitely have my contact. Any one of you who wants to get any question answered, or if you have anything further to discuss, I'm more than happy to engage with you. Thank you so much for having me here.